All right, what's up? We're live. I don't know if anybody can hear me. How you could hear me, whatever. But I'm going to tweet this out, and I don't even know how to do it. Let me just go here. I don't even know what the hell I'm doing. Well, anyway, if you're watching it now, what's it doing? Oh, I see a couple people joined in. All right. So what we're going to do today for the first half hour. If the sound is okay, if the sound sucks, let me know. If the video sucks, let me know. I got the TV, the screen's going to be right here, so I don't think I'm allowed to play the actual video. I don't think I can do that, but I'll have the sound on. And I'm not going to get too excited this year because there's really not like a number one prospect to get really excited about. No offense to the kids. I mean, they're all right, but it's not like last year. It was like a big buildup. I mean, Owen Powell's a good prospect, and so is Matt Beniers and things like that. But so I'll have the volume on the TV right now that they're showing like fancy old cars. It's like a car show. So I'll wait for like 15 minutes or whatever, 5 minutes until they start. And what I'll do in the meantime is I'll go over each team. There's 16 teams that are involved in this right now. Let me just go to YouTube and share the link. But yeah, so if you're a fan of the actual teams involved right now in the lottery, we'll just go over each team's, I guess, kind of like the draft picks they have, some options for you guys, team needs, player needs, whatever you want to call it, and we'll do that. So let me just tweet this out. And hold on one second. Is the video pixelated or is the sound grainy? Is it echoey? I don't even know. So they just tweeted out. All right, so if you're new, if you have no idea what's going on, I'll just kind of break it down real simple. The NHL is going to do a draft lottery tonight. They do it every year. Last year, they had to do it kind of a funky way because of the COVID shutdown, and they had more teams in the playoffs. So they had to have these two phases with ghost teams and the same odds. It was a big mess with the Rangers ultimately winning it. And a couple of teams got fucked over. The Detroit Red Wings got screwed over because they were the worst team. They fell to 4. So there's going to be a couple of twists about this year. And I'll just start off by saying that the most important thing about this year's draft lottery, besides the fact that there isn't a consensus number 1 overall pick, is that you're only going to have 2 draws instead of 3, right? So used to be you have 3 lottery draws. So any of the 15 teams, now we're 16 because of the Seattle team, but any 3 teams could win the first, second, or third overall pick. So they figured out, it's not that fair. Let's kind of mix it up a little bit and change it. And they did. And so now you're going to have only 2 teams potentially with the ability to win the first or second overall pick. Every team could win it. The 16th team in the Rangers, they could win it, but they got the worst chance, a 1% chance. So if you're a Sabres fan, and I'll go over the draft order right now, at least the lottery odd order right now, real quick, if you don't know what they are, I'm pretty sure you probably do. But right now we got 1 Buffalo. They were the worst team in the league. Terrible season. Played a little bit better towards the end, but they have the best odds at 16.6%. Now, the thing is that's actually less than last year's worst overall team, the Red Wings, and the change was about 1.9%. So the team with the worst record last year had a 2% chance, a bit greater chance of winning the first overall pick as opposed to this year. The reason why they had to mess with the odds a little bit was because of the inclusion of the Seattle team. So Anaheim is second. Their odds are 12.1%. Actually, Buffalo has a 31.6% chance of winning either the first or second overall pick. So Anaheim is 12.1% and 23.8% for the first or second overall pick. Number 3 is the Seattle team, the expansion team. They didn't play this year, so they kind of got gifted automatically the 3rd slot. They're at 10.3%, but they actually have the same odds as the number 4 team, the New Jersey Devils, at 10.3% for the first overall pick, and then 20.5% for the first or second overall pick. Columbus at 5, 8.5, 17.1. Detroit at 6, 7.6, 15.4. San Jose at 7, 6.7, and 13.6. LA at 8, 5.8, and 11.8. Vancouver at 9, 5.4, and 11.1. Ottawa 10, 4.5 and 9.3. And then Arizona 11, 3.1% and 6.4 for the first or second pick. Now, the thing about Arizona is, and we all ask these questions, Arizona forfeited their first-round pick because they were doing shady shit with the scouting combine under the old corrupt GM, Chaika there. So they got rid of him, and as punishment, they forfeited a pick last year. They got fined, and they lost this pick. So the way it's going to work is they're going to do the lottery draw, and I'll explain the way that the draw itself works. But they're going to run the number sequences that belong to that 11 slot, which in this case belongs to Arizona. If Arizona wins the number 1 or number 2 pick, they don't get it. They're just going to redraw. So technically, they could hit it like 8 straight draws. They're just going to have to keep going over and over again until a non-Arizona team hits that spot for either number 1 or number 2. So they're basically just there for the sake of being there. If you're an Arizona fan, you shouldn't even bother because it's going to be painful if you do win the lottery draw and you can't get the pick because you had a shady GM. All right. Number 12, Chicago Blackhawks. They're a 2.7% chance to get first overall, 5.6 for getting first or second. Calgary at 13, 2.2%, 4.6. Philly at 14, 1.8 and 3.8. And then Dallas at 15, 1.4 and 2.9. And then the last lottery team being the New York Rangers. They're at 16, 1% chance to get the first overall pick, 2.1% chance to get a first or second overall pick. Now, the Rangers, they won the first overall pick last year, and they got the second overall pick the year before that. So the NHL created a new rule that won't be instituted this year, but it'll be instituted next year, where a team cannot win the lottery three times in 5 years. So technically, the Rangers can win the first overall pick this year, and they can win it again next year because those previous years got grandfathered in. I sound Irish. I'm not Irish. I'm freaking Greek. Speaking of Greek, Sotidis, hey, how you doing? Is next year's draft stronger than this year's draft class? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. This year's draft class is mediocre at best. So those were the teams. As far as team needs and what you're looking at, well, let's talk about the prospects themselves, actually. And the thing about the prospects themselves is right now you're starting to hear the narrative that the top 10 is pretty much set, right? Like there's a top 10 to 12 prospects and you can interchange a couple of guys. I don't buy into that. I got guys ranked in my late 20s. I got Matt Kournianos in my 20s. I got Brennan Othman in my 20s. Any of those kids can go into the top 10. So it's not like previous years where you had an established top tier at the very beginning, and then you had a 2 to 5 group, and then maybe a 6 to 11 group. Like, don't listen to the media narrative. The media narrative is trying to tell you that, well, there's a top 10 or top 12, and then there's a big separation. Hell no, there's not. And if you go to draftanalyst.com, you're going to see that, I did my rankings and I wrote a lot of detail. I'm already up to, I think, 160 kids that I've ranked, and each summary. And there's a lot of kids that are pretty good, but you can't really say well, they're not even close to some of the guys in the top 10. Listen, they're saying Simon Edvinsson is a potential top 3 or top 5 pick. I don't see that. I don't see that at all. And I've gone on a million podcasts to explain myself why. So, if you're a Sabres fan right now and you have the greatest odds, or you're a Seattle fan and you're new to this whole thing, just realize that Owen Power, yes, the defenseman from Michigan who's playing for the Team Canada right now at the Worlds, a great, beautiful tournament he's having, by the way, he is becoming of a first overall pick. But then again, so is Matt Beniers, and so is William Eklund, the forward out of Sweden, the winger, very exciting player. So is Brant Clark, the defenseman out of Barrie, who went to Slovakia to play there during the OHL shutdown. I used to say or think that Jesper Wallstedt, the goalie, might go first overall. I don't think it's going to happen now. But he's a potential franchise goalie. Models his game after Henrik Lundqvist, and there definitely are similarities beyond them being just big and Swedish. So there's a lot of quality plays in this draft. You're not going to, the difference between number 1 and number 2 is not that great from number 3, 4, and 5. So, yeah, as a fan, yeah, you won the lottery. It's fun. Yeah, you celebrate. You have a great time. But how big of a difference maker is that number 1 overall pick going to be? Right now, the way we've been assessing this draft class in particular is that it's mediocre with a mediocre top 5 or top 10. It's top heavy. It's heavy on defensemen, not very big on centers. And the centers they do have, you're looking more like the two-way, 200-foot gritty type, not necessarily those mind-numbing skill guys like a Jack Hughes was in his draft year, or a Austin Matthews or a Connor McDavid. So similar to 2017, where we really didn't know who the number one pick was going to be. We thought it was Nolan Patrick, and then Nolan Patrick got hurt 8 million times. And then Nico Hischier had a really good top prospects game. He was really good at the World Juniors. And that's when the media started pushing that narrative that Nico Hischier is going to be the first overall pick, and he was. And he's a pretty good first overall pick. But if I guess if you went back and looked at it in hindsight, you'd say that maybe the Devils might have taken Elias Pettersson, or maybe they would have taken Miro Heiskanen or Cale Makar. I mean, who? So as of right now, if you go to my website, I'm not going to go down the entire list, but I'll just give you my top 10 real quick. Right now, I have Owen Power at number one. He's been my number one for quite some time. He was number two in my preseason ranking, so it's not like I'm like one of these Johnny-come-latelys who are like, oh, Owen Power's good. Hell no, man. I saw that kid play when he was 16. I'm like, he's going to be freaking good. And he was number two on my list, and now he's number one. And number two is Matt Beniers, the center from Michigan. They're teammates. Actually, Beniers right now playing for Team USA at the World Championships, and he's doing a pretty good job as well. More of an adept role, whereas we're seeing Powell what? Powell started out as barely playing. He didn't play the first period. Downey even played the first period of Canada's first game, and then by, I think, the middle of the second game, he was getting a regular shift, and now he's playing about 22, 23 minutes a game for Gerard Gallant in a very competitive environment with Team Canada, and they actually just made it into the medal round. So the competition is going to get tougher for Powell, but he's going to get big minutes. Beniers is more like the depth guy on that team. But remember, he started out that way on Team USA at the World Junior Tournament. He started out as a depth guy for Michigan at the start of the season. He was on the fourth line. So was Kent Johnson, his teammate, and they worked their way up the lineup. So kids like that, if they keep working their way up lineups and every coach that played for is like, this kid's pretty good, maybe we should play him more, that's usually a good sign in terms of draft stock and their potential as NHLers. Number three, I got William Eklund. I love this kid. He's not big, but he's got toughness. He's got mental toughness. He's got physical toughness for a little guy. He's not afraid to mix it up. You always see him pushing people around. In addition to being a very skilled player, he could finish. He could be a playmaker. Dangerous one-on-one player. So it's not like, was it 2010 where you had guys like Burmistrov and some of the other smaller guys that just flamed out. League's different now. They like these smaller guys, these quick guys. But I like the fact that Eklund played in an adult league for the last couple of years. He was on a line with Alexander Holtz at U Gardens. And with no offense to Devils fans, but Eklund was kind of the better player most nights on that line in particular. So there's no reason to think that he can't go first overall, depending on how the teams have scouted. Kent Johnson, I got at number 4. Winger from Michigan, very electrifying. He's a really good playmaker. I mean, he does things with the puck that you don't see a whole lot of players do. He scores the Michigan goals and the dangles, in addition to being really good off the puck, right? He forechecks, he gets involved. He's not a physical, intimidating presence. He could play center or wing, right? When he was in the BCHL in 2019-20, he was a center. He goes over to Michigan. He plays on a wing, and he looked really comfortable there. So he could go either or. Number 5, I got a little bit of a wild card. A lot of people were confused about it, but some people weren't. And that's defenseman Carson Lambos. Lambos is a kid out of Western Canada, I think the Winnipeg area. He played for the Winnipeg guys in the WHL, was one of the best young defensemen in the league last year. Obviously, WHL has a shutdown. He's got to go to Europe. He goes over to Finland and plays in the U20 SM Sarja League there for a team called Yip. Yip sucked before he got there. He shows up and changed the dynamic of the entire team, playing 22, 23 minutes a game, running the power play. So Yip's goals against was almost halved. They became a winning team. And it got to the point he was playing so well that even the senior team wasn't doing all that great. The A team up in the SM Liga, they promoted him and gave him a couple of looks. Comes back to North America, plays a couple of games for the Ice when the WHL season starts off, and he gets hurt. They said he had some type of medical procedure. I don't know what it was. It could be hemorrhoids. It could be a vasectomy. Who knows what it was? But I'm just saying he had a procedure, not saying what it was. Maybe it's embarrassing. Maybe it's not. But in any event, he didn't play. And he was supposed to play for Team Canada at the Under-18 World Championship, and he didn't play because of the procedure. So this kid has not played in a while. And there's some narrative started that, he struggled in Finland. Bullshit. He didn't freaking struggle in Finland. He was fine in Finland. So I got him at number 5. Strong kid. He's got a little bit of Drew Doughty in him, I think. This is like max best case scenario. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that he's going to be Drew Doughty, but stylistically, big, strong kid who could hit hard and also run a power play. Pretty good skater as well. Number 6, Brant Clark. Not the prettiest skater in the world, but it's effective, really good mobility and agility. And he's the kid that was on the OHL's Barrie Colts. He had to go over to Europe as well because of the shutdown. He was with the team called Nova Zamki in the Tipo Extra League, an adult league. I mean, he's a Canadian kid from Ontario, Toronto area, and he's going to friggin' Slovakia. I mean, talk about a fish out of water. But it was a seamless transition after a couple of games. The kid was great. And he was running their power play, playing 20 minutes a night. One of the best defensemen for Team Canada when they won gold at the U18 Worlds. So very high potential power play quarterback. It's just he's a little bit knock-kneed, I guess, his skating style, a wide stride, wide stance. It might look a little funky, but incredibly brilliant player. I mean, playmaker, passer, puck distributor, you name it. Number 7, Dylan Gunther, another really good kid. He's a winger, but he's got the traits of a center. He's even built like a center. He's like about 6 foot, 180. I actually put on some weight now. So he's about 180, 185. I wouldn't call him a pure playmaker because the guy's got a hell of a shot. And he was actually the leading scorer in the WHL, averaging about 2 points a game. He's got some bite to him, too. He's not a finesse guy. He kills penalties. He hits. He gets mad. He'll fight back if someone tries to push him away. And so very big, very effective scorer, effective stick handler. He's got a great shot, just knows how to score, always positioned in the right place. And he ended up going to the tournament as well for Team Canada. It was on the top line. He didn't knock everybody's socks off at the tournament, but he had a good tournament. He had like 8 points in like 7 games or something like that. But they won the gold. So nothing really to cry over. Luke Hughes, number 8. So let's answer the question. Is Luke Hughes as good as Quinn Hughes, or can he be as good as his brother Quinn Hughes? Quinn Hughes being an elite power play quarterback, playmaker on the back end for the Vancouver Canucks. He went, I think, 7th or 6th overall back in 2019. And his younger brother, Luke, is a defenseman. Everyone I know in USA hockey circles for about at least 2 years are like, hey, you like Jack, you like Quinn, wait till you see Luke. Wait till you see Luke. And I saw Luke, and he's freaking good. He's just as good as Quinn. He's just as good of a playmaker. I mean, I saw Quinn play as a U17. I saw Quinn play as a U18. I saw Quinn play as a freshman in Michigan. The similarities are there in terms of playmaking and puck skills. The skating, I mean, they're both brilliant skaters, but Luke is big. He's like 6'2", 180. So he's got the long, clean stride, powerful stride. He'll go coast to coast. Outstanding vision. He's a playmaker. The big difference between the two of them is that I think that Luke, because of his physicality and his strength, is more reliable in the low slot, more reliable in board battles. On the other side, though, he's a bigger risk taker. And Quinn Hughes takes a ton of risks. We saw it all season this year, particularly with the Vancouver Canucks. They were always needing a big win. But Quinn he's really cleaned up his decision-making. And it was really clean when he was doing it as a 17 and 18-year-old back in his draft year, draft minus. Luke is a major mistake. He'll try to spin off. You know the move that Travis Dermott made in game 6 against the Canadians? That spin move that ended up costing them the game in overtime? Well, Luke Hughes will do that at the opposing line where you don't have anything behind you except your own goalie. So he's a big risk taker, and that's why I think I'm not going to go and say, well, if he's just as good as Quinn Hughes, then he should be the first overall pick. No, bullshit. No. There's some risk involved, more risk involved with Luke than Quinn. So that's why I can't say right now that he's going to be the best player in this draft, but there are similar Quinn Hughes. And he actually outproduced Quinn in his U17 and U18 years. The age was about the same in years and months. So, but he's a lot of fun to watch. Go on my this channel. I see the highlights I got, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Number 9, I got Mason McTavish. There's a little bit of a surprise at Central Scouting. Had him ranked 2nd as the 2nd best overall player in North America. That's all recency bias from the U18s because the kid was phenomenal at the U18s. But he was also phenomenal in the Swiss League when he went overseas to go play for the I forgot that, was it Olton or Cloton? I forgot the name of the team he played for, but he belongs to the Peterborough Petes. He's not related to Craig McTavish, but he's related to Dale McTavish, who's like a guy with the hockey background. But Mason is a mean forward with a lot of skill, a lot of good energy. He can hit. He can be a difference maker with the puck, off the puck. He played wing with Peterborough. He's a natural center. So he could be a playmaker as well. His shot is near elite. His backhand is near elite. So I don't have any concerns with his skating. He's a powerful kid. So once you get inside the opposing zone, he's going to make life really difficult for you. And then number 10, I got Cole Sillinger. And his dad was Mike Sillinger. The guy was a first-round pick of the Wings way back in the day. Played for like 8,000 teams. Cole is a little bit different. Mike was Western Canadian guy like his son. But I think Cole isn't as great of a skater as his father was. But at the same time, the skating isn't that big of a deal with this kid. It's not like 2010 with Cody Hodgson was such a bad skater that you kind of figured he might struggle. Or even Yakupov. The game changed now. Like, you want smart kids on the puck. And Cole Sillinger, who's a WHL kid, had to go to the USHL to play for Sioux Falls, Sioux City. I'm sorry. And he had a fantastic season, like almost 1.5 points a game. He had games where he had 10 and 12 shots. If you go from the WHL to a circuit like the USHL, which is known for relatively low scoring, really good goaltending, physical defense, and you're putting up about 1.5 points a game, and you're getting 6, 7, 8 shots every so often, that means that you could dictate play, and that's why I have him in the top 10, among other reasons. A really strong kid, too. But he missed out in the U18 Worlds, I think, because of an injury, and so I think that might have hurt his draft stock because the last Central Scouting ranking that came out was full of recency bias based off that tournament. So that's your top 10 right now. We're about, I guess, 10 minutes away. I'm still watching this weird car show on NBC. But now let's go over the teams right now. Just tell you like what I think about them, talk about their season a little bit. Buffalo, it was a mess. They have some good prospects in the pipeline. They got Dylan Cousins a forward. They got Jack Quinn last year. He's a wing. They're getting production out of Victor Olofsson. What's going to happen with Jack Eichel? We don't know. So you have Rasmus Dahlin as the franchise defenseman, right? You got him first overall in 2018. Do the Sabres need a guy like Owen Power? Well, I would say, who cares what you need? You got to go for the guy that you think could show up at your team as soon as possible and make a difference right away. So defensemen rarely show up right away and make a difference. Quinn Hughes did not do that. Cale Makar did not do that. It took him a little bit, maybe a year or two. So the question is, can the Sabres afford to wait, right? Can they afford to wait and say, no, I'd rather go, we think Owen Power's the best player. Do we, get that defenseman? I don't know if they really need defensemen, though, because they got physical guys. They got Ryan Johnson. They got the Samuelson kid. And they got Rasmus Dahlin. Pretty good building block. Looking at the guys that they got last year, how they drafted, they got Peterka. He's a finesse guy, a speedy guy. Constantini, fast kid, speedy guy. Lukashin, overage Swedish defender, more of like a playmaking, scoring type defenseman. And then Jakub Konechny was the kid, the two-way kid that I liked out of the Czech Republic. So they haven't really drafted a lot of defensemen the last few years. They drafted Lukashin last year in the later rounds. Then they drafted Johnson late in the first. And then that was it. And that was the draft that they did 2 years ago or 3 years ago where they loaded up on defensemen, right? Start out with Dahlin. They added Samuelson. They got Kronholm and Kukonen or Walker Crew. I don't even know if these kids are still with the organization yet. I haven't done my organizational rewind yet. But I wouldn't have an issue with them if they decided to go a defenseman route. And they're all defensemen they could go for. You want to go for the righty-lefty combo? You get a guy like Brant Clark? I don't have a problem with that. But again, a lot of it should be predicated on what Eichel does. But I've said this on a podcast before. I think I've even tweeted it out, that the Sabres need to become a tough team to play against. And if that's the case, then you draft a kid like Matt Beniers, especially if you're willing to trade a guy like Jack Eichel. Now, I'm not saying that Beniers is going to become a Jack Eichel. He's just a different type of a player. Like, he's Dylan Cousins, maybe on steroids. He's got a high give a shit factor. He's a tough competitor. And I'm not knocking Cousins because he's a hell of a competitor as well. But I just think that if you want to change the culture and make it a winning organization and tough to play against, then you get a guy like Matt Beniers. All right, maybe he might not top out at ever more than, like, let's say 60 points. But who the frick cares? Who cares? I mean, look at Mark Scheifele and Jonathan Taves. They were not pegged as big-time point producers. They were pegged as leaders and difference makers off the puck and on the puck. Two-way types. More Taves than Scheifele, but still. And they both had really good years production-wise. Eventually it develops, right? Especially you have guys on your wing. So if you have a guy like Jack Quinn on a wing with Matt Beniers, look at all the work that Matt Beniers did for Kent Johnson. Matt Beniers put up a ton of points this year. The other option for the Sabres would be, I guess, Eklund, because they love drafting out of Sweden, and he's a Swedish kid. So either way, I think it'll be a good draft for the Sabres, whether they're picking 1, 2, or 3. All right, Anaheim Ducks. Anaheim Ducks, they have a pretty deep prospect pool. They had a disappointing year. What I liked about the Ducks is that they played a ton of young kids. They played Zegras. They played Jamie Drysdale. It worked out really well. At least to getting him ice time. So, they've had multiple picks, the first-round picks the last 4 or 5 years before. So I don't know really which way to go. You have the number one power play quarterback in Drysdale, right? He's a righty. You have the guy like Zegras. You got other guys in the pipeline. You guys got like Sam Steele, and you got Josh Mahura. You had some, successful seasons from kids that we were kind of worried about, right? We were worried about Lundestrom, and we were worried about Troy Terry, and they actually bounced back with some pretty solid seasons, all things considered. You want to go for a big home run here if you're the Ducks. Last year I said, what did I say last year? Last year I said that their draft needs were a defense, and then I'm going for Jamie Drysdale. I don't know. Maybe if you're going to move on from Cam Fowler, you're going to move on from Lindholm. Maybe you want to have that 1-2 punch again, and you want to get a complimentary player for Jamie Drysdale. And I think that Owen Powell would be great. I think that Carson Lambos would be a great pick there. You want to talk about Simon Edvinsson, a little bit of a project. I don't know if the Ducks are going to be that patient, but they've drafted out of Sweden before, so you never know. All right, Seattle. There's really not much to talk about with Seattle because they have like, I think, one prospect signed, Luke Henman. This is their first draft, so they'll hype the shit out of whatever pick they get. It's going to be a while. Ron Francis and Robert Cron are running this draft. They did a really good job in Carolina. We're about 6 minutes away from the thing, so I'll try to speed this up. So with them, just draft any play you got. It's a building block. You just go from there. They have all their picks this year. They can, but they're going to add picks too from making the expansion draft moves as well. So this is really just like a placeholder. Where they're going to pick, and really in the end, you're going to pick between 1 and 5. You're going to get a really good player. So you could say he's the future of the franchise or whatever, but it's probably going to be a while. All right, the Devils. Devils are an interesting topic. Devils, they've loaded up on picks. They had a disappointing year this year, but they got a good year out of Ty Smith when some people were down on him because of some of the seasons he had in the WHL. They got Jack Hughes. Jack Hughes to me was the most consistent Devils scorer, right? To me, Jack Hughes played like a number one center this year. Even though the numbers might not reflect it, he was either the top scorer or one of the top scorers. So if you're a Devils fan, all right, it's not happening as fast as you wanted, but you're definitely seeing signs that a Hughes-Smith combination is a way moving forward. I think it was positive signs overall. You got Holtz, the winger. I'm not going to talk about his draft season, but you still want to go out and get some scoring wingers as well, but you also need help on defense. Based on some of the plays that the Devils have drafted. So I think since you guys were looking at Drysdale last year, maybe look at a guy like Brand Clark because he's a righty. I would not be surprised if they go the goaltending route. And the reason why I say that is because remember last year when I brought up the idea to get Askarov and you guys went nuts because you called Blackwood a franchise goalie? He ain't a freaking franchise goalie just yet. He had a bad season this year. So maybe it might be tough to stomach as a fan if you see a goalie taken 4th overall. I'm not even saying it's going to be Wallstedt. It might be Kosa, or it might be someone else. But I wouldn't have a problem if the Devils go goalie here. They have a ton of prospects. They have scoring wings. They have centers. They have defensemen to a degree. But for me, I'm going either a right defenseman like a Clark. Wouldn't mind the guy like Eklund. He would be a nice addition. If you have that Hugh Gardens combination. We'll see what happens with the Devils, but I would lean more towards the defense and the goaltending. Become a tougher team to play against. All right, next up we got Columbus, and they're a mess. They got John Davidson back. They had all types of issues. No one wants to play there anymore. Pierre-Luc Dubois got traded. They made a lot of people thought they made a weird pick last year, but I love Chinakov. I don't think they have that many picks this year. Is that the issue with Columbus? No, they do. That was a difference. They have 3 first-round picks. I'm sorry. I thought last year they had like 1. They got 3 first-round picks this year, so they could really, with this one, you want to hit a home run. You got to hit a home run. If you're worried about losing Jones and eventually losing Werenski, you got to go for someone like a Brand Clark. But with Kekalainen and the GM, you never know with him. You really have no idea what he's going to do. He threw a curveball with Dubois. I thought it worked out, even though he became a big baby and cried and left. So maybe there could be something here. If you're a Columbus fan, you got to think about Edvinsson here. If you're going to get that pick. And remember, this isn't like really a draft preview. I'm just trying to for fans that are new to the whole draft thing, I'm trying to give you a general idea of what your options are. But William Eklund would be a typical Columbus play, even though he's a little bit on the smaller end. You could see him be like a Cam Atkinson type. I like what they got going on in Columbus. It's a major rebuild going on there right now. So, with the other first round picks, if you want to address the defense, you can with those later first round picks and go for a home run with the offensive skill type. I wouldn't have a problem doing that. All right. Next up, we got Detroit. Speaking of a zillion prospects and a zillion picks, in Detroit, Steve Yzerman. Listen, they had a really good year this year. I'm happy for them. They bounced back. They were not an embarrassment to the league. Played really tough against a lot of good teams. Bernier being in net had a lot to do with that. I think with the Wings, you got Seider. You got, I think they got to go center, really. So if you win this draft or you win this lottery, I think you have to. No, I can't show the lottery. I can't stream it. I'll get banned. At least I don't think I can. But I'll have the volume up and just give you reaction after every pick is made. So I can't stream the lottery. Sportsnet. Oh man, Sportsnet one time they rated my videos, man, and they flagged so many of them. They banned me. I got read the riot act. So anyway, back to the Red Wings. At some point you got to address the center ice position. And being a Michigan-based kid, Benias played for the NTDP, played for Michigan. The scouts seen plenty of him. Wouldn't be a bad idea as far as that makes it for the play against. But there might be some surprise. Listen, for all we know, they might like Aatu Räty, the kid out of Finland, who we thought would be a number one overall pick. But even with goaltending, you never know with the Red Wings that they love Swedes, and Wallsted's a Swede. So that's what I think about the Red Wings. Next up, San Jose. San Jose also unpredictable. They usually, they drafted. Well, they were supposed to draft high last year, but they traded that pick to Ottawa. This is the first time they'll be drafting in the top 10, I think, since Timo Meier, right? Since 2015. So it's kind of an important pick, the Sharks. They had back-to-back bad seasons, which rarely happens with them as a franchise. So you're looking at their prospect pool. It's a lot of plug-and-play type guys, right? They got Ryan Merkley. We're still waiting on him. Is he going to reach his potential? They got the kid last year, Weisblatt. They also got the kid Bordelot. They got good prospects. But I don't know. Maybe if you got to go defense here, with that top 10 pick, and I could see them liking a kid like Everson because he's big. The Sharks are usually patient with their prospects. He kind of fills a need. He could be a playmaker as well. He's got the size and the skating. But if I'm the Sharks, I'm going goaltending and defense here with that pick. All right. Next up, we got the LA Kings. Kings, best center ice prospect pool in the league. There's all talk about them being involved in the trades with Eichel and whatever. So really, the Kings could do whatever the hell they want with this pick. I mean, there's really not a need. They got strength up and down that lineup. I know that draft goaltending really isn't their thing, but it's to look into. They got scoring wings. Maybe just keep adding more scoring wings to all the centers you have. So you look at a guy like Kent Johnson if he's available. You look at a guy like William Eklund or a guy like Dylan Gunther who would be just as good of a finisher as could be a setup guy. All right, next up, Vancouver Canucks. Messed up year for you guys. I really apologize. I thought you guys would be a lot better. You guys, I think the defense is a huge problem. I think goaltending is a huge problem. You counted on Demko. We got to cut it short. No, I'm going to put the volume on. Some weird car show. Man, NBC has shown that. Who watches NBCSN when hockey's not on? All right, so we're gonna go. I'm gonna skip over. I'll talk about the other teams after we're done. How we do that? Ottawa, Dallas, Calgary, Chicago, Arizona, Philly, Rangers. We'll talk about you guys once we got the draft order set. So here we go. I mean, I really don't know. Like, the more people I talk to about the quality of this draft, people on the inside, they can never go public and say, yeah, we don't like it. But the reality is that they're really not big fans of this draft. I think the media, they have to kind of play it up. You don't want to, hurt the kids' feelings, and you don't want fans to be down on it. But I like to call it like I see it. And if you look at the World Junior Tournament, if you look at the Under-18 Championship, there weren't a lot of draft-eligible kids that were major difference makers on their teams, older teams. It's just one of those years where I never got a warm and fuzzy from it. And even at the U18s, the U17 and U16, the U17 kids outshone the older ones. So, Well, they're talking about Keith Jones and them are talking about the playoffs, so I'll just mute that. So anyway, that's pretty much where we're at right now. I'll go over the order again. Odds-wise, Buffalo 1, Anaheim 2, Seattle 3, Jersey 4, Columbus 5, Detroit 6, San Jose 7, LA 8, Vancouver 9, Ottawa 10, Arizona 11, Chicago 12, Calgary 13, Philly 14, Dallas 15, and Rangers 16. Listen, as far as like trades goes, the expansion draft is going to have a profound impact on the way the draft goes, because we've seen the way that the Vegas model worked. They're going to try to make trades where the drug deals that they make, where they're not going to want to trade, or they're not going to want to expose certain guys. But to do that, they got to pay up or pony up in a draft pick. So this year, I think, are we going to see more movement? I think so. I think you're going to see less movement of 2022 picks. And so I haven't really crunched the numbers yet, but I get the impression that this year teams will be more willing to trade down. And we always talk about it every year. But Seelovs is a good prospect. Listen, Vancouver. Demko was not, he was all right this year, okay? You want to blame the defense all you want. Your season went into the shitter because of Demko and Topi were terrible in the beginning of the year. You can show me whatever charts you want. I watched those games. I'm like, all right, Demko is not playing as well as he should have. He wasn't a number one this year. He played well in spurts. But again, you're relying on a guy that hasn't been proven. DiPietro, I mean, he had one game, gave up 7 goals. Demko, Holtby, DiPietro, Seelovs, listen, it's real easy to look at a prospect pool depth chart, right? To read the Hockey News Future Watch or to go on whatever website you want to go to and say, wow, look at all our goaltending prospects. It doesn't work out that way. It doesn't work out that way. On paper, it means exactly that. It's on paper. So I can't tell you how many Devils fans were telling me last year about Mackenzie Blackwood and calling him a franchise goalie. And why is Carter Hart getting? I guess I made the mistake of saying, Carter Hart, I think Philly might have had their goalie. He was terrible this year. He would have had to send him to a shrink because he a sports psychiatrist, because he couldn't stop the puck. So you can't really look at your goaltending prospect pool until, like, for example, the Rangers. The Rangers, you could say, yeah, you know what? They got these 2 young guys heading into the season, and we said, wow, they had this great tandem. They could let Lundqvist go. They were both terrible in the beginning of the season, Shesterkin and George. You haven't ended up costing them making the playoffs probably. So I will never have a problem with overdrafting with goalies. Just draft as many goalies as you can. If you got to draft 2 a year, draft 2 a year. And we're seeing the trend shift now. Remember, the trend used to be with goalies that, oh, well, I'm not going to draft a goalie in the first round. It's a waste. I could get Lundqvist in the 7th round and Pekka in the 7th round and Braden Holtby in the 4th round and Matt Murray in the 3rd round and Binnington. But look at what we're seeing now. We're seeing Spencer Knight. Remember all the people who were like, nah, you can't draft Spencer Knight in the 1st round. Oh, no, you can't do that. Well, Florida did that, and he gave them the best goalie performance in the 1st round. 19, 20-year-old kid. Kid's phenomenal. And you can't tell me that there isn't a single GM out there that would not trade whatever he really could, at least from a reasonable standpoint, to get a goalie like Spencer Knight to be his future number 1. Askarov, same thing with Nashville. It's peace of mind. That's all it is. And so I know that sometimes when I put a goalie in a mock draft, it's not because I have inside information. I'm like, wink, wink, draft a fucking goalie. Like, draft a goalie. Like, do something. Because the state of goaltending right now in the NHL is terrible. I don't know what's going on. You look at the 3 Vezina finalists. Okay, Fleury had a great year. Vasilevsky, he's good, but go look at the numbers. Go look at the run support that guy gets. He had his goal saves above average was pretty high, but his save percentage in the last 20 games of the season was not very good. And again, Grubauer, okay. But listen, a lot of these guys have a strong supporting cast. So what's it going to be? That the best goalies in the league now are going to be the ones that have the strongest supporting cast? You need goalies to steal games for you, and not just one game. You need to steal sometimes a season for you, which is what guys like Lundqvist and Rene and Carey Price have done. And look what Carey Price was drafted, though, 5th overall. And it seems like people forgot that, you know what, maybe we should try drafting a goalie with our first pick. And the 2 kids I like a lot this year, Kosa and Wallstead, they're legit. Gaudreau, overrated, very overrated. It was all, if you watched him play with Sarnia last year, you watched him play at the U18 Worlds, Come on, with that in Canada, we're steamrolling everybody. He wasn't really challenged. So, all right, here we go. Looks like the lottery's starting. Can you guys hear the TV? Can you hear the sound from the TV? Carter fought. All right. I always like hearing the commentary about these prospects because literally they learned about these kids like about a week ago. And they put Edmondson up there. You know how I feel about that. If you don't, I'm not a big fan, but we'll see. I'm sure he's a nice kid. Listen, I know a lot of you guys like Edmondson, but well, there they are. Oh, Chris Jury, Mr. Personality. Where's Gary? Where's Gary B? Look at John Davidson in a new setting. John Davidson fired, and within 2 weeks, he's back with a new team. I don't know if it's gonna be that exciting. I think you guys feel the same thing. You guys like that excited about this lottery? I'm not feeling it. I don't know. Because this year's draft class is so deep and talented. It's not deep and talented. I'm sorry, Catherine. I like Catherine Tappan a lot, but it's not deep and talented. It's mediocre. It's mediocre. Like you watch hundreds upon hundreds of kids. You're going to see a lot of overages. You're going to see a lot of kids from last year's class get picked. It's not a good year for the OHL. Yeah, exactly. Tyler 94, G94. It's like if Owen Power did not have this good tournament, we wouldn't really be talking about him as a lock for number one. All right. Well, I'm going to make a prediction. I'm going to say that Seattle's going to win. I think that they want to I think Seattle's going to win it. And I think number 2 is going to go to Buffalo. That's just my prediction. Everything else is going to listen. There's only going to be mystery for 2 teams. So last year with the whole ghost thing, we had no idea what was going to happen. But National Hockey League sanctioned the Arizona Coyotes. Sanction. I like that. She said they sanctioned they were shady. They were crooks. The crooked Arizona Coyotes. And not the fans. I'm talking about the guy Chaika there. The young guy, youngest GM ever running shady deals. Well, yeah. I mean, if Seattle gets the number 1 pick, it's a good marketing thing. Remember when Tampa Bay got the first overall pick in '98? And they drafted LeCavalier and the owner. What was his name? Alt Williams was like, oh, we got the Michael Jordan of hockey. Buffalo Sabres general manager Kevin Adams. All right. Bob Murray from Anaheim. Ron Francis. Ron Francis, I think, has got a good track record. Seattle's in good hands with him and Kron. Tom Fitzgerald. I remember all these guys when they played. Oh, there's JD and Kekalainen. So I'm being honest with you. I don't think that these guys are really. I'm not getting the sense that these guys are really into this. You know what I mean? Like the GMs and the scouting directors. Oh, Benny, my goodness. Benny looks like the guy from the Munsters, right? Treleving. How does he still have a job? Are you guys watching it, by the way? You guys just following this live stream? You guys got the screen in front of you? The lottery starts in Drury, oh God. The lottery starts in 2 minutes. Now, here we go. They're just doing stupid interviews. All right. Anyway, I don't know, just the rhetoric that I'm hearing, that if you look at a lot of these teams that are drafting too, that are in this lottery, you guys this is kind of like second nature to some of you guys, right? This is like your 3rd, 4th, 5th lottery. And usually what that means is you're just piling up prospects. So like the Kings and the Devils and the Rangers and the Senators and, you guys have loaded prospect pools. So it's okay, more prospects to add. But at some point, you got to figure out who's going to actually make it. And the way to do that is through competition. A lot of these kids aren't going to make it. So even though on paper, we've been writing down that, Antti Tuomisto is going to be a future right defenseman for the Red Wings, he's got a lot of competition. So I think if you're a fan, and this is just my, I know we got the cap and the flat cap and they lost a whole ton of revenue. I get it. But I'm at the point now where if you're a fan of a team with all these prospects, You can't hold on to him. Start making some freaking trades. Make some freaking blockbuster trades. Start do what Quebec did or Colorado did back in the 90s, where you just unloading guys. You have all these prospects. They had, what, 4 number 1 picks in 5 years or 3 number 1 picks in 4 years, one of them being Lindros. But look at what that turned into for the Avalanche. I mean, it turned into basically a pseudo dynasty. So I don't know, like if you're a Devils fan right now, yeah, you probably love Patrick Moynihan, or you probably love, Graham Clark, or you love some of these guys. But, at some point you got to start making moves. I mean, Philadelphia, Nolan Patrick, what are you going to do with Nolan Patrick? Where you have Morgan Frost, or they come with the cards. It's funny, like, so they're wearing masks. I don't have a problem with the mask thing, by the way. You want to wear a mask, be my guest. But they're doing the mask thing again. The whole freaking all the games we watched in the postseason in America, everyone's been the masks are off except for the coaches. It makes no sense to me. But in any event, so anyway, so that's what I think. I think that a lot of you teams, a lot of you fans, are if there's no TV, if you guys are just watching the stream, this is what they do. They're teasing the shit out of it. They're not going to go right into the lottery. They do this every year. I guess it's it's TV 101. Where you want to maximize, viewership, you got to build it up. It's all about the ad block, whatever ad blocks they have. Whoever paid the most money for those ads, they got to have it at a certain time slots. Okay, fine, but they do this every year. I remember what was it? It was like an hour delay. Was it 2 years ago with the Jack Hughes Cackle one, where they're like, oh, the draft's gonna be at 8:00, and they ended up like making the announcement like 8:50, and I went freaking bananas. All right, they're talking to Bill Daly now.
Seattle Kraken participating in their first draft lottery. So we're obviously excited for them and excited that they're part of the group. We also made a couple of modifications.
Seattle's got a so just real quick, in case you don't know how the lottery works. So basically what they do is every team gets a 4-numbered sequence, right? A sequence could be 1, 3, 5, 7 or 1, 11, 12, 5. So every team gets numbered sequences. The worse team you are, the more numbered sequences you get. So every time a ball gets pulled, it has a number on it. If that number is 6, they look at their list, and whichever team has 6 as their first number sequence, then that team is basically alive in the draft launch. Sorry, he's about to make the announcements. I'm sorry.
Alexei Lafreniere, first overall. So let's get
all right. Here we go.
Bill, the floor is all yours.
Thank you, Catherine. On behalf of the National Hockey League, I want to thank all the general managers and team executives joining us tonight virtually, which wish each of your teams good luck tonight.
All right, here we go.
We'll get to it now. The 15th overall selection in the 2021 NHL Draft belongs to
Rangers. All right, Rangers didn't win. So Rangers got the 15th pick. I guess they're calling it 15 because the Arizona forfeit. So the draft order is going to be 1 through 15, not 1 through 16. But for odds purposes, they ran the Arizona numbers into it. So
the number 14 overall selection.
14 is
NHL Draft belongs to the
Dallas.
Both times Dallas has selected.
All right, so right now we're still 2 for 2, so no one's jumped. Next up should be Philadelphia. If it's not Philadelphia, then Philadelphia, you've won the first or second pick. That's how it works.
The number 13 overall selection in the 2021 NHL Draft belongs to
Philly. All right. So now we got Philly 13, Dallas 14, Rangers 15.
Overall pick. They finished this season 6th in the East Division.
So far it's fair. It's going fair. I'm telling you, I think it's Seattle though.
The number 12 overall selection in the 2021 NHL Draft belongs to the Calgary Flames.
All right, Calgary Flames, number 12.
2 times in the history of the Calgary Flames, they have selected 12th overall, most notably 1984 when they selected Gary Roberts.
So 12 Calgary, 13 Philly, 14 Dallas, 15 Rangers.
The number 11 overall selection in the 2021 NHL Draft belongs to Chicago Blackhawks.
Chicago. All right, so it's going in order.
Blackhawks have had 3 previous.
What are you doing? He's smiling. Bowman's smiling, but they already know. They already know.
The number 10 overall selection in the 2021 NHL Draft.
Yeah, Benning does look like he was in a fake face.
Ottawa Senators.
by Ottawa.
The Ottawa Senators have never selected 10th overall, but they have had two recent
All right,
top 10
so
selections who have looked very good in their career. Tim Stutzla, number
10
3
Ottawa, 11
last
Chicago,
year,
12
and
Calgary,
James
13
Sanderson,
Philly,
who
14
was
Dallas,
number
15
5 of
Rangers.
that 2020 draft as well. Bill?
Moving to number 9, number 9 overall selection, the 2021 NHL
Now,
Draft.
number
belongs
9,
to the Vancouver.
Vancouver. Oh,
The
God,
Vancouver
Benning,
Canucks
my
have
goodness.
selected 9th overall before, 3
I shouldn't
previous times,
talk.
and in fact,
I mean,
you may
it's
recall
still,
in 2013,
it's not
our
easy,
captain
not easy
before
being
that
being on
selected
TV with
number 9,
HD.
as was Hall of Famer Cam Neely back in 1983. Bill?
I missed him.
Overall selection in the 2021 NHL Draft belongs to the Los Angeles Kings.
All right, it's going as
The
scripted.
Los Angeles Kings have never selected.
What's the deal with Blake? You guys want him fired, Kings fans? Kings fans seem pretty tired of him.
Including last year in 2020, they selected Quentin Byfield forward. No.
All right, number 7.
Number 7
It should be
overall
San Jose,
selection in the
right?
2021 NHL Draft belongs to.
Yep, San Jose.
Like the Kings, the Sharks have never selected 7th overall. The last Sharks selection
All right.
in the top
7 San Jose, 8 LA, 9 Vancouver, 10 Ottawa, 11 Chicago, 12 Calgary, 13 Philly, 14 Dallas, 15
The number
Rangers.
6 overall
Now we're at number
selection in
6.
the 2021 NHL Draft belongs to
Detroit, sorry.
So
Six-
Detroit
actually,
will select number 6.
6.
They are familiar with this spot 3 times in the last 4
3
years.
times in the last 4 years, they've
Number
drafted
6
6th overall.
Moritz Seider in 2019 and Philip Zadina in 2018.
number 5.
Number
overall
5.
selection in the 2021 NHL Draft belongs to Columbus.
Columbi, all right. Columbus
Blue
at
Jackets
5.
Never selected in the 5th spot. The last pick within the first 5 picks was Pierre-Luc Dubois, 2016. They selected him 3rd
All right,
overall.
listen, it's fair. So we know now bottom feed is going to get the top 2 picks. So I don't have a problem with it.
2021 NHL Draft belongs to
Devils at 4.
Only one previous.
What was he mad about? Like I said, there's no difference between big of a difference between 1 and 4. You got Power, Clark, Lambos, Evanson, or whatever.
So the anticipation building for the.
Oh, here we go. Yeah, they got it. Yeah, there we go.
Managers anxiously
Gotta have the
awaiting
commercial.
The results in Buffalo.
Anyway, they need money in the poor league. Yeah, so, I mean, listen, it's pretty much going. I don't want to say it's going as we expected because we're so used to seeing a team vault into the top that really didn't deserve it because they had a mediocre to decent regular season. So I think if you're Seattle, you got to like it. Obviously, if you're Buffalo, you got to like it. And same thing with Anaheim. Actually, Anaheim has never had a 1st overall pick, right? I think the highest they've ever had was it Korea? Was Korea the highest pick or was it? No, they had Tverdovsky. I think they had Tverdovsky at 2nd overall back in '94, and there might have been someone else too. But I mean, not very suspenseful. I think we all kind of predicted it. But again, anticlimactic is what we consider this draft. Several, at least over a year ago, we knew that there just wasn't that, that 1 or 2, that 1 prospect or those 2 prospects that make you want to like go to game. Like I tell you, when I used to go watch Jack Hughes play, man, I used to get excited to watch Jack Hughes play. And, so I never really got that sense. Now, being in Texas for the U18s at the price gouging Comerica Center, watching Mitch Korf play, watching Bedard play, watching Shane Wright play, I'm like, all right, those are 1st overall picks. Those are the kids that you want to buy their jersey. And I'm not really trying to knock the other kids. It's just how it works. It's life. You know what I mean? Sometimes you're going to get, a really good deal, and sometimes you're not going to get a really good deal. So I think that in this particular year, Owen Power's a wonderful prospect. Matt Beniers, Kent Johnson. I think this is going to be the kind of draft where the 3 or 4 best plays to come out of this entire draft class are going to be kids drafted. It's like 2014, where it's going to be kids drafted like Pasternak, Draisaitl. Who am I missing? I'm talking about guys that were drafted outside the top 2, where you had Ekblad and Reinhardt, and even Bennett was up there. Yeah, all right. But I think it's going to be that kind of year. 2012, I compare it to because of all the defensemen. But Neil Yakupov was a consensus number 1 pick. I don't care what the NHL scouting community wants to say in retrospect, that very little was being said in terms of Nail Yakupov being a bust. It was all from a fail for Nail. He had a great World Junior. We all knew that he was going to be the number 1 overall pick. So, all right, they're back. So, again, just consider, if you're a fan of one of these top 4 teams picking or top 3 teams picking, just consider it just adding on, right? Adding another premium asset. And these kids are premium assets. It's just they're not going to be, I think, you're not going to just see that massive difference making from early on. The PR arm of the teams will try to sell it that way. But again, I think you just not really have kids show up right off the bat. And, you know, and look, even with Lafreniere and Kakko and Hughes, I mean, they struggled out the gate. And it might take them a little bit longer, whereas guys like Matthews and guys like McDavid, obviously, and McKinnon were able to come right out and be difference makers. So, all right, here we go. Buffalo, Anaheim, Seattle. All right, number 3.
Final 3. I wish each of these franchises the best of luck. Number 3 overall selection in the 2021 NHL Draft belongs to
Anaheim at number 3. All right. And Murray's face. Yeah, so it's going to go Seattle, Buffalo. Hey, if you guys are on the chat, don't spoil it, because some people literally are following the results via this stream, so don't ruin the results.
The first overall selection in the 2021 NHL Draft and the winner of the 2021 Draft Lottery.
All right, number 1, here we go.
Buffalo
Sabres. Got number 1 pick. Seattle gets 2. All right, there you go. So no change to the draft order except you switch 1, 2, and you switch 2 and 3. So that's all. That's it. Buffalo 1, Seattle 2, Anaheim 3, Jersey 4, Columbus 5, Detroit 6, San Jose 7, LA 8, Vancouver 9, Ottawa 10, Chicago 11, Calgary 12, Philly 13, Dallas 14, Rangers 15. And there's your draft lottery. So, I mean, what's Adams going to say? So, Sabres, what do you guys do? I already said, I think there's a whole, so many variables right now to this offseason. If you want to, didn't the Sabres cut like a ton of their scouting staff as well? Didn't they like, they have like no Russian scout and no like Finnish scout or some shit like that? So, I don't know which way they're leaning. I think that a guy like Matt Beniers or Owen Power should be the pick. It's just really that easy for me because they make him tougher to play against. With Power, you get that calmness. Deline, for all his fanciness and his flashiness and his skill, Deline can buckle on the pressure sometimes. And I talked about this in his draft year. And I said that Rasmus Deline sometimes, if he's faced with a heavy forecheck, and I noticed it in the SHL, I noticed it when he was playing against Canada in the World Juniors, and people got so mad at me. They were like, no. And I was like, no, he could be turnover prone. And it's not an optimal situation in Buffalo right now for him. The poor kid is, it's been rough in terms of his supporting cast. So Owen Power, I think might be a good partner for him, even if he's a lefty. You do lefty-lefty. I don't have a problem with that because he's really poised under pressure and he can really deal with that physical forecheck and make life a little bit easier for Deline. And remember, guys like Ryan Johnson and guys like Matthias Samuelsson, these are pretty good defensemen. So you got other guys like Joka Harju. He played a lot this year, but it was almost because he had to. So, I don't know what Sabres fans, how they're feeling. I know some Sabres fans I talk to, they're all about Kent Johnson. They love Kent Johnson, and they think that he's what they need. But again, I think and I'm not saying that Kent Johnson isn't tough to play against, but if you're building that kind of culture where you want to be tough to play against every night, the choice for me is either Matt Beniers or Owen Power. And if you want to go the Edvinsson route, Frölunda connection, the Sabres like Frölunda. I don't know. Luke Hughes to the Devils is definitely an interesting option and something that I would consider. And I actually think that, but at the same time, Brant Clark's brother, Graham Clark, is on the Devils. So there's a chance the Devils are going to draft a defenseman whose brothers are forward on the team, or at least within the organization. So I didn't go over the other teams. Arizona, I'm not going to go over you because you guys broke the rules. And I'm just teasing. I'm not making fun of Arizona. Just that the GM Chaika, he looked like he was 11 when he got hired, and he you altar boy, and he's like running these like shady things behind closed doors. You say, well, it's just scouting combines. Like, listen, where there's smoke, there's fire. If he's running illegal scouting combines, he's doing other legal stuff too. They just haven't caught him yet. All right, so let's talk a little bit about Vancouver. Actually, I talked about them and the goalies. Yes, I wouldn't mind them drafting a goalie. The thing about Vancouver is, you have to prepare for the free agent, the RFA contracts for Pedersen and for Hughes. And that's really going to have a huge impact on the team moving forward. But you got Podkolzin coming in now. I would like to think that the forward group is set. I wouldn't mind a guy like Lambos, to be honest with you, at number 9. I think he's kind of like what you need, where you have these skating defensemen, but you need really good puck managers, guys that could know how to skate the puck out of the own zone, out of your own end, guys that know how to be physical and warriors like a Shea Weber type when he was young. And the Canucks don't really have that. Tyler Myers is a freaking nightmare, and they had it in a way in Tanev, and they had to let him go, or he signed elsewhere, and I think that hurt the team. So I'm not saying that you're going to spend the 9th overall pick on a Chris Tanev, but he was an effective player for you guys. And again, any guy that Canucks draft right now, he's not going to show up immediately and fix it. It's going to be a long-term process, but I'm thinking like when Pedersen is 26 and Hughes is like 25 and Podkolzin's 23, like that's the way you want to look at. Remember, because Tampa used to suck, right? Tampa used to suck. Colorado was a freaking laughingstock. Remember, we used to make fun of Sakic for the Duchesne deal. So it takes time, but I still like what they got going on in Vancouver. I'm not too down on them like most people are. And Benning should get some sleep. All right, so Ottawa Senators, you guys are probably going to win the cup in a couple of years. I mean, what a fun team to watch. You got Stutzler, you got Norris, you got Shabbat, you got Brady Tkachuk. I mean, every team wants Brady Tkachuk. Every team wants Stutzler. I mean, it's a really well-built farm system, and now we're seeing the results at the NHL level. They were not an easy team to play against this year. It wasn't like years past where we just kind of laid down. So, with the Senators, we're looking at the entire prospect pool. I think you guys are fine at center. Maybe a finisher, right? Maybe a guy like Ken Johnson if he's around. Maybe a guy like Dylan Gunther. Maybe Mason McTavish, right? Would be perfect in that lineup. Another tough, mean, abrasive kid. Imagine a line with Josh Norris at center, and then you got Tkachuk on one wing and Mason McTavish on the other one. It would be a freaking nightmare to play against. So really, it's house money that you guys are playing with right now. And I know some of you guys are upset about the way that they drafted last year with all those picks they traded, and they got some overage guys and some goalies, and you guys were upset about that. But future's incredibly bright with Ottawa. All right, next up we got Chicago. Chicago, you guys, I think had a promising season. It wasn't easy. You lost Doc right at the very beginning of it, and I actually like the way that the Blackhawks have drafted in the past. You got all the kids played this year, right? You got Suda played this year. Kurashev played. Boquist played. Was it Hagel played? Who am I missing? Ian Mitchell played. Yeah, all these young kids played this year. And so I think you're going to start seeing a shift where those kids are going to start going from the learning phase to the production phase. And you're going to start seeing at least one of those kids be a 25, 30 goal scorer like a DeBrincat was in his first or second year. So really what you guys are looking at, I felt like the center ice position is a little weak for you guys overall. Kurashev could play. I think he played wing this year, but he's a natural center. So looking at my rankings, got Cole Sillinger could play wing or center. Mason McTavish could play wing or center. You got the Russian kid, Svechkov. The Hawks draft out of Russia. They've done it before. Actually, have they? I think they haven't drafted out of Russia since getting out the Balmarkian in 2017. But Fedor Svechkov, I mean, you want to have the Jonathan Taves meant to him. Svechkov, one of the best two-way centers in the draft. So really, I think similar situation with the Hawks. where they have a pretty decent prospect pool. They're loaded on defense. You got Beaudin is another good prospect. So maybe you want to adjust the forward ranks. Maybe go center ice like I've been telling them to do for a couple of years. But last year they got Reichel. Reichel could play center. They got the goalie Comesso. I kind of like their defense core. They got Wyatt Kaiser. Krudel's good. They got Vlasic. They got, like I said, Beaudin and Boquist. So Hawks look to be in pretty good shape. Next up, we got Calgary. Listen, I love the way that you guys draft. That's the good thing about True Living is that, for all his faults as a pro GM, he does a really good job managing his scouts, and they do a great job finding things in those late rounds. So, you got your Emilio Pissons and you have your Zavka Rodneys, and have your Adam Zikas. They all had really good seasons this year from a prospect standpoint, also when they got a chance to play in the NHL. So, Valimaki is a stud. Last year I said that your draft needs were the defense, and you kind of addressed it by drafting, was it Boltman and the other kid, Poirier and Kuznetsov. Boom, boom, boom. Second, third round pick. So maybe address the forward ranks this year, maybe get a scoring winger. Next up, we got the Dallas Stars. Dallas Stars always go the CHL routes. It's going to be tough for them this year because the CHL barely played. But if you look at all their picks, they've gone center, defense, center, defense, center, defense. So maybe you got a great kid in Robertson. Maybe give him some support and go the wing route. Fabian Liesel, the kid out of Sweden, is fast and he could score. The kid Tuomala from Finland is physical. And he could score. We saw them, Isak Rosen from Sweden. This is like that grouping. That middle grouping of the first round is going to be really good, at least my first round, because you have all this clump of scoring wingers who are going to all be in that, let's say, like 13 to 20 range. And I'll just go down the list. I mean, if you want to count Ratty as a winger, but he's more of a center. But starting with Fabian Liesel out of Sweden, Liesel, Tuomala, Simon Robertson, right? Another kid out of Sweden, Isak Rosen, Chibrakov, the physical, mean Russian kid, Ayrton Martino, Matt Coronado. Who else we got? Oscar Olofsson, underrated kid. People stopped talking about him because he was too old for the tournaments, and he barely played the World Juniors, but he's a special player. The Russian kid, Poltapov, is with the moves that he makes, Brennan Hoffman. So you see, it's almost like last year how you had the wings clump together in the very top. This year, you're going to have wings clump together in the middle of the first round. So a team like Dallas, I mean, if you want to look at need and you want to talk about flashy skill and scoring proclivity, you're going to have a ton of that in that range, in that, let's say, 13, 14 to 25 range. So even the playoff team. Now, you might say, well, you're saying that this draft sucks. Again, I'm going off of best case scenario, right? Fabian Liesel's a freaking puck hog. He's a freaking puck hog, right? He's fast, though, and he's got a good shot, and he knows how to score. And I thought he played pretty well off the puck when he was with Skellefteå in his couple of games in the SHL. So he's not like this like Noel Gunler like floater type. Like he's a guy that like works hard, he skates, but a little bit of a puck hog. And he had the issue with Falunda demanding for a trade. But best case scenario, you got a guy, you put him on a line with Delandria. At least in Dallas's case, you put him on a line with Robertson or Maverick Bork, the kid that they drafted last year. So again, I'm pumping these kids' tires in the sense that I got to think best case scenario. I'm not thinking that, well, it's a lock. 2019, we said these kids are locks. 2018 specifically. Well, we said 2018 and 2019, two strong drafts. We said these kids are locks. Not necessarily right away, but a Zegras will be a number one center in the NHL. We said that Jack Hughes will be a number one center in the NHL. Dylan Cousins will be an impact maker in the NHL. And Cole Caulfield will be a goal scoring winger in the NHL. Spencer Knight will be a franchise. We're seeing it like little by little. We're seeing the results. And some people like it's not happening fast enough. Listen, this shit happens, but prospect development, it's not linear. It's just ups and downs and ups and downs. So next up, we got the Flyers. And I'm going to be going on your Reeves podcast to talk Flyers, I think on the 15th. So if you're a Flyers fan, you definitely want to check it out. Flyers Nitty Gritty. He does a great job. And we had a great conversation last year talking about a zillion draft picks. So with the Flyers, very disappointing season. I consider them a cup contender at the start. It just didn't work out. It didn't work out. The goaltending didn't hold up. You had some plays underperform. The good news is that Joel Farabee is looking phenomenal. And maybe you'll get a chance to have Carter Hart rebound. You got Morgan Frost is due for a long look. You got Cam York, you got Bobby Brink. Last year at the draft, I thought they did a pretty good job getting the kid Forster, right, from Barry. They didn't have a lot of picks, but they got Zig Wisdom, Dave Noyer, and Amy Landry. I mean, pretty good draft, but didn't have that many picks because they were contenders. So in terms of need, listen, the Flyers have had so many prospects, so many draft picks before that they're dealing from a position. So I don't think that you're going to address your issues right away, but let's be kind of honest here. Like, I know Hextall ain't running the show and you got Fletcher in there now, but if you're picking this high and Wallsted's there or Coase is there, you might have to take them because goaltending has been such a major issue with this freaking franchise and all the way back to freaking Stall. Since Lindbergh died, goaltending has been an issue with the Philadelphia Flyers. We're talking all the way back to the 1980s, where Hextall was great in 87, right? It was great, Conn Smythe winner. And then what the hell happened? Lost it. Became Swiss cheese. And I've talked about the Flyers goaltending situation for years. They need to fix it. And they've been had drafts where they drafted 3 goalies and 2 goalies, 3 goalies. Enough. This is the best chance they've had to draft a franchise caliber goalie. I think they should do it. And then last but not least, the New York Rangers. I'd like to see them draft a center. I really would like to see them go out and try to get a reliable two-way center who could be a playmaker as well as a scorer. To me, Svechkov fits that bill perfectly. I've mocked him to the Rangers before. I'll mock him to the Rangers again. Last year, I wanted them to take Kournianos with the second first-round pick. They ended up taking a defenseman, Schneider. I just think that the Rangers need a franchise center. And, yeah, okay, you're going to trade for Eichel. Raphael, who won the lottery? It was Buffalo. No change to the draft order except Buffalo, except Seattle and Anaheim switched 2 and 3. So it goes Buffalo, Seattle, Anaheim instead of Buffalo, Anaheim, Seattle. Yeah, Rathbone did look good. I did like the way he played actually this year. And Yolevi actually looked pretty good too in a couple games I watched this year. And then I think he got hurt again. We had COVID, I heard, and it really messed them up. But as far as the Rangers go, like I said, they got they will have a bunch of picks. And if you go to the draftanalyst.com, I'm going to update the draft order tonight. That you're going to see that the Rangers, let's see, what do you guys got? You got a first, 2/3. You don't have a second because you traded that to Detroit for Mark Stahl. You got a high third, though. That third belongs to Buffalo, which is a good thing because that's basically like a second-round pick. So you have 2/3, 3/4, a 5th, a 6th, and a 7th. So the Rangers can actually do some willing and dealing and moving up. But they definitely have to address the center ice position. Chris Drury is going to be essentially running the draft, I guess, because he doesn't hire a scouting director. He's got the Morehouse guy. So he's got no European scout because he fired him. So it's going to be Drury and Morehouse, I guess, running it. And, we'll see. Cole Henriksen's pretty much the best center prospect that they have right now. And it's just not enough. They need to start doing what the Kings did and start loading up on first-round caliber centers. And if they want to keep ignoring it, fine. Go ahead and ignore it. But the one cup that this team had in 8,000 years was because they had great center icemen. And so not that they drafted them, but they still had great center icemen. Well, actually, Nemchinov they drafted. But anyway, that'll wrap it up. Hour and 12 minutes. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I just felt like bullshitting and talking about the lottery. And, I don't know if this was an effective way to communicate my my knowledge of the draft. And if you guys, I don't know how good the stream was, how good my delivery was, but we'll be doing this again. We'll do live streaming for days 1 and 2 of the draft. There's no location for the draft. It's going to be virtual again. And so I'll be able to start doing some YouTube podcasts or YouTube vlogs, whatever the frick you want to call them. And I want to thank everybody for listening in. So hope you guys enjoyed it. Take care. Don't forget, you can find me on the draftanalyst.com. You can find my Twitter at the Draft Analyst. And of course, this YouTube channel is Prospect Film Room. So go ahead and subscribe and like and comment. And I'll see you guys next time. So take care.